Hey, thanks for stopping by and checking out Brookside Banter. My name's Greg. I'm the lead pastor here at Brookside Baptist Church. These videos are really designed to help us carry on the conversation of discovery that we begin on our Sunday mornings in our teaching times. It allows us to text in questions and hear responses to some of the questions that rise up as we are hearing and kind of processing the message that we have on a Sunday morning service. We're in the middle of a series called Road Trip, Enjoying the Journey Toward Heaven. And this past week, we looked at what it means to ride in formation. We talked about the fact that if we follow Jesus, if he's come into our lives, if we are citizens of heaven, we're empowered by the Spirit to live differently, to be able to ride in formation together. And we talked about how we ride in formation, first of all, under Christ. He is our head. He is the one whose leadership we're following. But we follow in formation under Christ, but with the church. We're called into a family, into a body, to be part of a church together. And finally, we talked about the fact that we are to be living in formation in our community around us, to be visible, to be seen, to be light, showing the difference that Jesus makes in our lives. So there were a couple of questions that came in this week that I wanted to respond to that I think are really important for us to think about. The first one is simply this: how do things look different in this whole riding information together thing if you're a leader or if you're a follower? How does that work out? And simply, I think the important part for us to recognize is that whether we're leading or whether we're following, we are together under Jesus Christ. We are all following his leadership. So in one sense, even the highest leader, the highest echelon of leadership in a church family is still a follower. We're following Jesus. He's the one that we are all together under. Now that being said, how does it work in a team, in a ministry setting for leaders and followers? What's the difference? Basically, our leaders are called and empowered and given the freedom to lead, to make decisions, to make choices, to figure out what's the best way to go, and to invite the rest of the team to help make that happen. And the team's responsibility, if you're following, if you're part of the team, is to support your leader and to help them pursue what it is that God's calling them and you together to do. So what happens when you don't agree? What happens when you don't see things eye to eye? When you have an idea of what should take place and they have an idea of what should take place and they're not the same? Well, if it's within the boundaries or the parameters that the team is called to fulfill, then really it ought to be the leader's call. That's why they're in leadership. That's why they're given that role. And if you ever are in that leadership role, we would want you to have that same opportunity and that same backing and support. That if you are leading the team to fulfill the task that you have, then you'll be supported, whether you kind of come at it from this way or that way or whatever. That's fine. If somebody else on the team is not leading but has a different idea, that you're welcome to share it. There ought to be that freedom to share ideas and to gain ideas. And to me, one of the hallmarks of a good leader is they're always listening to hear the opinions and the thoughts and the ideas and the insights of people on their team. And they're ready and willing to lay down their ideas if a better idea comes along. Really, who cares where the idea comes from, as long as it's one that's moving the team forward. So that is a really healthy dynamic, I believe, to have on a team where there's that kind of interplay. One of the things that I think is important for us to recognize in this whole thing of leadership and followership is that there's a dynamicness to it. Leaders are not always leaders. Followers are not always followers. And while for a particular season, somebody may be leading a team, at another time there may be somebody else. And leaders ought to be always looking within their team for rising new leaders, potential leaders, and encouraging them and helping them, and sometimes even stepping away and allowing them to take on the leadership of that team in order for them to do something else. I think of the Apostle Paul and Barnabas, who, when Paul was first converted to Christ, Nobody wanted to have anything to do with him. Barnabas was the only one who trusted him enough to take him under his wing and show him around and introduce him to people and allow him to get ministry experience and training and development as a leader. But there came a time where Barnabas actually stepped out of the way and allowed Paul to take over. So where it was at one point Barnabas and Saul, it became Paul and Barnabas. Barnabas was willing to allow somebody with more gifting and more ability and more passion as a leader to step into that role. And that to me is probably one of the greatest qualities of a true leader, is their willingness to allow somebody else to lead when they see that they have better capacity to do it. That's one of the parts of leading well in formation that we often don't think about. And when you think about geese flying, it's not always the same goose at the front. There's always that interplay and that change, and somebody else takes over and others step back. That's a healthy process that I think is important for us. Last question, and that's about us flying in formation in our community or with our community. Can we do it with our community? No. Can we do it in our community? Yes. We need to be flying in formation as brothers and sisters under Jesus Christ. We ought to be showing that in our community around us. And we ought to be a people that are for our community, not just in it, but for it, doing what we can to bless the people around us and show them the truth, to truly be the light of Jesus in our culture around us. But can we be with them in the sense of joining in to the direction that they're going and all that kind of stuff? No, we can't. We are a peculiar people in that sense. We are now part of God's community, and we are inviting people from the community around us to join us in following Christ. And that's really where we've got to draw that line. So I hope that's helpful for you. I hope you're enjoying the journey, and I hope that you will be with us next week for another edition of Brookside Banner.